So today we have a special guest, my good friend Adith, that is here from Gem Capital, is here with us today to share his journey and the lessons he has learned along the way. So Adith, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So it's such a pleasure to have you. So Adith, let's jump right into your journey before Gem Capital, before all the other wonderful things you had, and let's understand where you're from and what was your upbringing like.
Sure. So I've been a Bombay boy all throughout my life, Mumbai Aikar. I was born and brought up here. My grandfather came to Mumbai from Rajasthan. It's a state in India. So actually, my father's also been a majority of his life in Mumbai. My schooling was in Mumbai. We basically come from a family of a caste called Marwari traders, and so we are predominantly a business family. My father was into the textile business, trading as well as manufacturing, and so education was always something which my parents wanted me to do it. There was no pressure, but they always said it's like an insurance. If you don't do well in your business, you always can go up and take up a job. So that was the amount. That's the reason why I've always, been an average student throughout my life. I did my schooling and then I did my college also from Bombay. I did a graduation course called Bachelor of Management Studies. It's called BMS, and that time it was pretty new, and it's like a similar to a postgraduate MBA course, and that is where most of my learnings were. And for me, more importantly, I was always more of a curious personality. So I was more into general awareness and general knowledge. And I remember still when internet came to my, I had internet in my home. I used to just keep on surfing for hours. Just random stuff and learning and reading. So I feel that has also helped me, and that's how my upbringing was. Yeah, one of the few great childhood memories of mine would be visiting my dad's factory. Wherein we used to go to the shop floor, see all those machines and workers working. There was a small temple there. So those were a few of the best childhood memories, and it's a typical middle class family upbringing in India.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. I know, to try to understand, obviously coming from India, you're coming from a middle class family, and Indians in general are very risk averse and they're afraid to take that risk in the sense of go ahead and build a business, get into entrepreneurship, and then see what comes. Usually it's always about taking the safe route, get a proper education, go work for one of the bigger companies, and then live a happy life. But to understand where you got your passion or how you got into entrepreneurship, getting it from your dad, seeing your dad have his own textile firm. But, eventually the question comes, how did you find your own entrepreneurial journey?
Yes. So, you know what, always we used to have dinner table discussions over, business and what's happening, what's not happening, what the government is doing. So I was always, part of those discussions some way or the other. And even my extended family was into some sort of businesses, maybe some by choice, some, without choice because they couldn't get a job and that's where they were doing their own businesses. But nonetheless, all of them were entrepreneurs in their own way. And I've seen them struggle as well. So for me also, initially I thought that I will, properly do my MBA, take up a job, and have a salaried life and a peaceful life. But somewhere I think that the DNA or that entrepreneurship bug kind of actually, with me. Actually, if I take you back from my college, once I completed my MBA, I actually took up a job. My first job was at ICICI Bank. And this was a very large private sector bank in India, in Mumbai. And I was placed right from college, right to, the head office of ICICI Bank. So I was in my job for 2 years, 1.5, 2 years. And then I went into entrepreneurship and started something of my own. Now, how did that happen? In fact, I can take you through that as well. It's a very interesting journey. My wife has to come in the picture now. My wife is a trained consultant on productivity improvement techniques, or more of Toyota production system, or what you normally know more as lean manufacturing and lean systems. So she had visited Japan and for 10 days as part of a delegation. to visit some small, medium, and large enterprises in Japan. She came back and she told me, Adith, you have to visit Japan. I'm like, what's up with this Japan thing? There is no relation. Why should I go there? She's like, no, you should just go there. The things I've seen, the things I've observed, it's nothing like that in any of the other developed countries as well, and in India for sure. So you should go. So the next time when she was going, I went along with her, and this was while my job was on at ICICI Bank, and I went there for 10 days, and actually there I saw a QSR concept, a quick serve restaurant concept, wherein they were selling crepes. I don't know if you're aware about crepes. Crepes are like thin pancakes. They're more popular in France, and they originated in France, but they serve it in the US and Australia as well, along with pancakes as a breakfast item. So in Japan, it was served very differently, and it was freshly made. There was a more theatrics of how it's getting made, and there were very sweet crepes which were sold in small tuck shops. And so I had one of them, and I really loved it. And that's the time where I just felt, why will this not work in India? This should, this is not there in India. This is a new product, a new concept, and I'm a foodie myself. So I felt that this is something which I can do. So I listed down that idea, okay, that we can start crepes in India in 2006-07, and then a couple of more ideas like that. And then when I came back to India, I started working on each of them along with my job. And somewhere I just thought that I should do it. It's the right time, because what happens is when you delay that, your opportunity cost increases, your salary increases, your family pressures increases, probably you have a child. It becomes even more difficult to leave a job, and I didn't want any regrets on my deathbed that I didn't do it, so I wanted to create something of my own. I wanted to create a brand. I felt food is the right place, right thing. I am a foodie, and how difficult can it be? It's not rocket science. Let me start venturing into that. So when we came back, I started making a business plan, and I thought I'll do it together, but then I soon realized it's very difficult to, keep your one leg in one boat and one leg in the other boat and try to sail. So without anything else on my mind, I just quit my job. And this was at the peak of my job, and I was doing really well. And so I had to, discuss with my family and tell them that I'm doing this. And middle class family, obviously, are you taking the right decision? I said, if not now, when? And my wife was also earning, so I think they supported me. And that's where my first venture, which was called Crepiteria, which is crepes and cafeteria kind of combined, Crepiteria. We started that in Bombay. I raised some money through some institutional investors. Obviously, I was a fresher. I didn't have much of my savings, and neither did I want to take it from my dad. So just a little bit of my savings, and we started off this venture. And then probably I can take you through, how that venture was, what I learned there as well, and how difficult was it. Because I didn't have any hospitality background. I didn't undergo any coaching or course.
Let me step for 1 second. And before we get obviously more into sort of crepiteria, now I'm very glad you brought up Japan. You wrote a whole blog post regarding the lessons that you learned along Japan.
Yes.
And there's 4 particular lessons that when I read your blog post, obviously stuck out with me. And I'll definitely love you to elaborate on them a little bit more. So I'm going to probably pronounce it wrong, but there's 4 things you pronounce that Japan has, and it goes Kaizen, Kikubari, Poka Yoke, and Omotenashi. And if you go ahead and explain each one, and a brief, quick one, what each one means, because I think there are phenomenal lessons of what we can apply to our daily life. Right?
Absolutely. So, when I went to Japan, I just expected it to be a very high technologically advanced country with high, developed country, with high per capita income. But what I saw there was not just the development in terms of infrastructure, but what I saw was the people. The people really, I was observing them. And then I started to talk to them about how they think and how they're different culturally, how they've been brought up. And these are just four of the many principles which, when you talk to any Japanese or when you kind of understand or research on it, you will realize that how they imbibe those in their lifestyle. So Kaizen, for example, is in English you can call it continuous improvement. Now, every Japanese, whether it is a factory or it's a service business or a manufacturing business, they implement this on a day-to-day basis. They always want to continuously improve. And when I say continuously improve, it could be increase in efficiency, it could be productivity, it could be slightly more innovativeness. These are some small steps. These are not like large, breakthrough innovations, but these are just small steps that we keep doing. And this principle can also be applied in your life as well, not just in a company or in a startup. So I felt this Kaizen is a very good principle which talks about how to bring about small improvements in anyone's life, through small cycles of plan, do, check, and things like that. Kikubari is actually paying attention to others, uh, probably mindfulness. These are small things which we just sometimes take it for granted in our lives, where we are just running around, we are busy in our own thoughts in a public space as well, or sometimes with our loved ones. We keep self-occupied, uh, and this is something which comes. Mindfulness comes naturally to Japanese. This cannot be taught, right? This is the part of your social fabric, and that is what I saw there. People were mindful about, if there is a blind person or a handicapped person coming. People are mindful about some. If you're walking on the pavement, people are mindful about the cyclists behind. The cyclists are mindful of the pedestrians. Basic things, even public transport, people are mindful about each other. They take care about themselves. So, a lot of such things which I saw, which is very, very beautiful. That was the second, the Kikubari. Poka Yoke is again a concept which is picked up from Toyota Production System, actually, which means mistake proofing. What it essentially means is you'll hardly see a Japanese making a same mistake again. It's very rare, because the moment they see a mistake which has happened, they'll make sure that they take some steps immediately so that this mistake does not happen again. It's simple. This could be a visual indicator. It could be a small, suggestion or small action or something in which the mistake does not happen again. It's just called mistake proofing. And this is again, implemented a lot in Japan. For small things, also you will see that happening. And the fourth is Omotenashi, which basically means, uh, it is kind of similar to Kikubari, but it is more thinking from the point of view of others. No, so for example, I personally believe that the best service standards in the world is in Japan. So Japan is known for, let's say, manufacturing, but it's not yet popular for service. But if you go to Japan, you will realize what true service is. The way they think about you, even when you go to a restaurant or for a haircut or for any service, they think of the customer, what the customer will like, not like it in its true sense. So these are the things which I feel I saw and I picked up there, which till date I don't see a lot of other countries, including India, practicing it.
Right. Even the story of Japan, which is, the whole crazy story from World War II, bombed, and to where they came to now, is just a crazy, crazy journey. And these lessons, every single part about it is something that we can apply to our day-to-day life, like you mentioned. It's just phenomenal. It continues, the art of continuous improvement. The day in, the day out, the hustling, the grinding, and becoming a more, becoming a better version of ourselves than we were yesterday. So every single day, making that 1% increment of change within ourselves, which was the first principle. And that's so important. Let's get the main question, which I'm sure you get asked quite a few times. And how did you get into venture capital?
Yeah. So we were at the cafeteria story wherein I started a QSR. So I ran it for 4 years. And at the fourth year, I sold it off to one of my franchisee. Post that, what I did was I joined an investment bank, which was a boutique investment bank, doing smaller deals. We also did one investment, from a family office. So I did that for 1.5, 2 years. I soon realized that that is not something which I enjoy doing. Investment banking. Sometimes you have to take some deals to investors where you yourself are not so convinced about it, but you still have to sell it. Uh, but I think I wanted to be on the buy side, wherein I could actually invest in companies and buy companies, and from college days, my interests were in equity research and stock markets and value investing and these kind of things. I used to read a lot about these principles. So I wanted to be on the buy side, and that's where I joined a private equity fund. Now, private equity fund is actually quite different from a venture capitalist in terms of the space where it invests, but the principles remain the same in Indian investing. So I felt that I have a background of entrepreneurship. I've done investment banking, so now I understand financial statements and I understand these things. Let me look at private equity, and that's where I joined private equity. I worked there for around 4.5 years, and then last year in June, July, I quit private equity and I moved from private equity to more early stage tech-enabled investing space, which you could call it venture capital or angel investing or in that space.
You didn't just get into private equity. It's venture capital. You figured, you know what? Let me just launch my own fund. Which
yes, yeah. So this is again interesting because what happened was in private equity, we were doing larger deals, right? We were doing big size deals. We were not doing deals really on the tech side. We were doing non-tech deals. And somehow I felt that I have 20 years of my career left. I want to be so I really believe the power of technology, wherein tech could actually change how a common man lives, right? So I wanted to get involved in that space. Now for me, I could have either joined a startup, or I could have joined a VC fund, or I could have started something of my own, right? Again, that this is my entrepreneurship 2.0. Now when I feel I wanted to be in the early stage side, because that's where the excitement is. I didn't want to do Series B, C, or D level deals, because that would be quite similar to what I was doing in private equity, which is more financial, more large companies. So I wanted to be with the founders who've just started off 2 years, 3 years. I could really sense that I can add value there with my experience of private equity, as well as managing portfolio companies for the fund, as well as my own entrepreneurial experience. So I wanted to remain in the early stage ecosystem where I can genuinely add value. My money would matter to them. My advice would matter to them. I would be able to open a few doors to them, tell them about positioning and a lot of other value adds and a lot of other things. So that's where joining a small private venture capital fund would not have made sense. So what I did was I partnered with one of my relatives and started Gemba Capital, wherein we are investing in angel rounds and pre-series A rounds in young companies and young startups. This is our own proprietary capital right now. It's more of a family office, but next year we will probably take it to raise more money and kind of make it a proper venture capitalist fund.
Wow, incredible, absolutely incredible. So tell me, what are some of the most important characteristics you think an entrepreneur needs to have? Go ahead.
So this is a very tough question to answer briefly in terms of what characteristics. But I'll tell you what we've done at Gemba Capital. What we've done is we've done a framework. It's called a Founder Attribute Score. We call it FAS. It's an internal thing which we have developed, in which we have 20 parameters, and we've given weights to each parameter. And then based on our interactions with the founders, which is 2, 3, 4, 5 times sometimes, we rate the founders on these parameters, and then we have a score out of 100, right? So this is a way to kind of check whether does it match with what the expectations are from an entrepreneur. Now I'll just take you through some of these parameters in terms of what you look in these parameters, or what you look for a founder. Clarity of vision. What does he actually want to do, and is he able to tell you in less than a minute what exactly he does? Does he have, is the simplicity there? Do the co-founders have complementary skill sets but a shared value system? Have they known each other for years, or have they worked earlier? Are they the right guy for this kind of a business? Like for example, if there's a business which requires a maturity level, which is a health tech business, you're playing with people's lives, you probably would want someone who's more mature, who has domain expertise, is 35, 40-year-old. You would not probably fund a 18-year-old. So is this right? Are these founders right kind of founders for this kind of a business? There would be cases where the founders need to be aggressive, fast, young, techies who can code. So are the attributes matching? Then we would look at things like tenacity. Basically, what is your minimum pain threshold level? How can they go? What have they done? Do they have strong, small, quick feedback loops? How have they worked on their product? Do they have a good network? Can they hire the right kind of talent? Do they have so there are a lot of things, but these are just some of the things which I told you what we look into.
Right. Wow. I would definitely love to check that out. That's incredible. Having that, those parameters to know, understand the person, because eventually entrepreneurship is, especially on the investing side, is understanding the entrepreneur. It's understanding their personality, getting to know them. Because a product could pivot from today to tomorrow. It could go 1 month and decide, we got to do something else. But understanding the personality, getting to know the founder, that's really where I guess, I personally believe it makes a difference. And, like you just mentioned.
Absolutely.
Right.
Products can get pivoted, markets can change, but it's in the end the founders and their ability to go through the struggles and to make way for themselves, which will decide the fate of the company.
So, that basically answers the question, when you're evaluating a new startup, what are you looking for?
So every fund has a different view on what to look first, what to look second, what to look third. So I'm not going to give you in terms of first, second, third, but basically what we're looking at for us at Gemba Capital, we look founders first because of the stage at which we are in. We are an early stage investor. Probably companies who are little late stage investors like Series B, C, D would probably look at the product first or the market first, but we look at the founders first. If the founders, as I mentioned, all the parameters, if the founders are a tick, then we look at the product. Then we look at the market. The market has to be large enough. The market has to be growing fast enough. What we tend to ask that time is can this startup take a small addressable market but gather a large share? Can it prove themselves in a small micro market first, and then it's about replicability? Is the market, a winners take all market, or do they have space for them? What is the competitive landscape? So we talk about the size and the growth of the market. Then we come at the product. Is the product something which is in which it has an unfair advantage? Do they have a lead time in terms of learning curve? Is it something which has a moat, a competitive advantage which is sustainable? Is it different? Is it solving a problem? Is the problem a real problem, an interesting problem, a large problem to solve? What is the core proposition of the product? Is it saving money for you? Is it saving time for you? Is it giving convenience to you? What is it? So those are the things which we discuss on the founder, the market, the product, and then eventually whether product market fit has happened, not happened. What is the go-to-market strategy? How much are they going to burn? What's the entire unit level economics? And then finally the valuation. Whether am I paying the right kind of price for this kind of a startup at this stage? So this is what is the framework in which we kind of look at before investing.
Right. So when you're looking to invest, and when you're approaching its life in general, or mainly specifically in investing, how do you evaluate risk? And then the emotion and the emotional aspect of it. How do you build up that resilience towards it?
The emotional aspect of?
Emotional aspect of risk, the emotional resilience, building up that emotional resilience to deal with it.
Yes. So there are 2-3 types of risk. One is risk at the level of the founders. We need to evaluate that in terms of situations where the founders don't are not able to talk to each other, and how do you mitigate that if there is a difference of opinion there, or if there is a fallout there. Then we need to talk about risk in terms of, let's say, regulatory risk, if there is something which can come up while evaluating the startup. Whether the founders have it in them, what is the kind of their resilience level in terms of how much have they taken some loans, how much money have they invested of their own, what's the opportunity cost for them, is it from their own savings or is it something else. So we kind of look at risk from a very holistic perspective, try to identify the risk and list it down, and then see whether these risks can be mitigated, and how much of these risks are in our control and how much of it is not in our control. If it suddenly Aadhaar based e-verification is stopped and the cost go up, it is something which is not in our control. Suddenly a new drone policy, let's say, is issued, which makes your business not viable, or like recently you cannot home deliver e-medicines, right? So a lot of models get shaken up. But beyond the point, we can't assess it. We do try to assess whatever possible are the risks associated with it, and then we take a decision.
Right. There's this famous question that you like to ask all entrepreneurs, all founders that come into your office. And we're going to definitely love to take it and turn it on to you. So what do you understand about your business that other companies in it just don't get it?
Yes. So this question is something which we picked up from Y Combinator, because I was reading it, and they also asked this question. And I feel this is a very, very interesting question to ask, because sometimes what happens is entrepreneurs are so much in love with their own product and companies, they just forget what our competitors are doing, or are there any competitors. Sometimes they don't even know that there are people trying to make the same product or cater to the same segment. So I always like an entrepreneur who knows that when he's going out in that market, who are the other guys. He should know each and every. He should probably have tested those products as well. He should know the other products inside out also, because if he wants to succeed. So I generally ask this question, and the right kind of response is actually when someone tells me that, okay, the competitors don't get that this is the need and this is what the customers want. This is the feedback we have, and what they're doing is something else. They've never spoken to the customer, but we have, and these are the things which we have, which is differentiating us from the competitors. And that's where I think that's one of my favorite questions. Yeah.
Right. So now we're going to turn that question on you. What does Adith understand about investing, or what does Gemba Capital have the other companies don't?
Yeah. So I personally feel my experience as an entrepreneur, as an investment banker, as well as an investor. I have been on all the three sides of a table. Or very few people have been like that. And I personally believe someone who's run businesses, managed people, have been an entrepreneur, can make for a good investor. And at the same time, someone who has understood investing also, can also become a good entrepreneur. So it's an amalgamation of all the three which I bring on the table. And the teams are not there equipped to kind of have these kind of thought processes, because very few people from private equity come to venture capital. And private equity is much more investment discipline. What you see right now, unit level economics and all, people were not talking about it, but private equity was always talking about it. We used to want EBITDA, which is positive, PAT level positive, cash flows, operating cash flows. All these concepts were unheard of in VCs. But I feel with the bubble, or with so much froth around, it's that investing discipline which is also required in the VC space or the angel space. Obviously, you need to think differently, but some of those principles will be applicable, and that's what we bring on the table.
Right. Wow. That's absolutely incredible. And I definitely hope that more entrepreneurs are coming to Gemba Capital to get your expertise, not just for financial reasons, for an investment, but for your expertise too. So how can someone become a better investor?
Okay, so few things what I believe in is you need to have some mental models. Charlie Munger first spoke about mental models, wherein it just simplifies things. And if you have mental models like a lattice work of mental models across different disciplines, you're able to kind of connect the dots. You probably will bring up some insights, some trends, which others will not be able to. So that is one thing which can make you a good investor. So like for reading as well, if you do multidisciplinary reading, you probably would pick up some concept from history or from psychology which is applicable to this particular startup or this particular investing. So I think that is one. Second, I think is more to do with internal, thought process. In the sense, I need to know who I am, what my hidden biases are. What do I have a confirmation bias, or because of my upbringing, it's like you kind of always undervalue what you know and overvalue what you don't know. So understanding yourself is more critical to become a good investor and take the decisions correctly. Because again, the greed comes in, probably the fear comes in when you're doing public market investing. So absolute control over your own mind, I think is what is required. And obviously the other things like networking and understanding the big picture, understanding the trends, where things are moving, how things are moving, which is required in terms of how probably this company will do well in this particular news era, because things are moving so fast around you. So I think these are the key things that you need. You need to respect others. You need to listen to others. Just basics. Sometimes.
I think it was the second thing you mentioned. Knowing yourself is such an important factor to it, and knowing our emotions of how if we're going to be able to sleep soundly at night, and not waking up and sweating and getting all nervous about our investments, but being able to go to bed, and sleep properly.
Absolutely.
And focusing also on our circle of competence, of our knowledge and everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what are some, non-obvious habits that changed your life?
I think one thing is observation. Uh, it is something which is not obvious, but you get to learn so much just by observing. It's such a simple thing, and if you do it properly, you kind of get into a hang of it, and it comes naturally, and you don't need to put efforts. So you can learn by observing people. You can learn by observing some machines. You can learn by observing anything around you. So I think observation as a trait, helps you in probably keeping yourself sharp, your identification of problems. You'll be able to come up with better solutions. So I think that is one trait which has helped me, and which is not obvious. Second is, I think, curiosity. I think we need to be as curious as a child. We've stopped being curious after our childhood, which is very, because there's so many things happening, and we as humans should be curious like a child about everything what's happening, every new business, every new technology, every new aspect around us, because that just makes you grow as a person, as well as I think I think it's personally benefited me a lot.
Right. Going forward, now, what are some of the books that have influenced your way of thinking you recommend to others?
One of the books which I really like is called Zen Flesh and Zen Bones. It's it's a compilation of short Zen stories by Paul Reps. This was originally actually published in 1957, and these are small stories about Buddhist monks. And what I like is it takes time to understand. You need to read it twice, thrice, but the takeaways from each of the story, once you understand them, are immense, and it's so valid and relevant in today's world as well, as it was in those years, in terms of how you live or how you want to live your life. So that is one book which I would definitely has impacted my life, and I would recommend it. Second book which I feel I really enjoyed is 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. When I read it, it just kind of gave me a different perspective, a new dimension. Things like competition is for losers, and it just amazing way to think about tech businesses, and I just loved it. And I think some of our investment thesis is also kind of picked up from that book. Third book which I would say is Lean Startup, Eric Rice. Again, my affinity to lean and to lean manufacturing, which could be applied in a startup, which Eric Rice has beautifully done it. I think the scale fast, learn fast, build fast, and then measure, and then keep iterating it and in short outbursts and build your startup like that. So we actually kind of sometimes ask the entrepreneurs or founders that, just to assess how is he building his startup. Is he building too many cores, or is he, iterating fast with an imperfect product going out in the market? So I think that book is phenomenal. Obviously, those concepts don't work in all markets, in all spaces, but I still feel those are very powerful concepts. That is an interesting book. And Blitzscaling, the recent book, which is by Reid Hoffman, that is a phenomenal story as well.
Yeah, that's one book I have not got to yet, but the books you mentioned are totally some of the basics books that as entrepreneurs starting off should definitely take a look at.
In fact, even The Hard Things About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz, I think his struggle, his grit, completely very well explained. I think that is also a book which has which was very good.
So tell me, who are your mentors or the people that have made a difference in your life?
Okay, this is a little surprising because I don't think so. I have any mentors. And this is also a challenge I faced when I was running my own show, Crepitaria, when I was an entrepreneur, because I missed it. I later realized the importance of a mentor. If I would have had a mentor from the same domain, probably I would have avoided some of the common mistakes which others are also doing. He would have probably seen the movie before me, so he could probably tell me the twists and the turns. So I think a mentor is something which I don't have right now. If you a role model, there is no one physical person, but I do admire, Naval Ravikant and his tweets, and Brian Chesky and his entire story. But in terms of a physical person, I don't think so. There's anyone who's influenced me so much in my real life, probably except my wife. She has, in terms of her thought process and a few things on those lines, but no as such a particular person I look up to right now. As of now, I'm still looking up to someone like that.
Well, you seek and you shall find. That's for sure.
Sorry?
Seek and you shall find.
Yes, absolutely.
So from your side of the table, an investor side of the table, where do you see the current Indian startup ecosystem, and where do you see it going?
See, the current startup ecosystem probably has some 9,000 registered startups. Around last 4 years, if you see, around $33 billion have got invested. There are so many accelerators, incubators, corporate arms have started their own, VC arms. So there's a lot of action happening, and there are a lot of participants. I think ecosystem is really strong. Obviously, there are certain challenges in terms of regulatory. Sometimes, there's an angel tax which comes up all of a sudden. There is some restriction which comes up, but these are part and parcels of a nascent industry which is growing. Going forward, I see there is tremendous opportunity. If you see, family offices are now getting interested in this asset class, and they are making investments, which is a good sign. It's no more a taboo to go start your own, and in Indian families, that's a good sign. More entrepreneurs. You see exits happening now much more. Some of these exits have made some employees and early employees millionaires. That money is going to again come into angel investing. So I think a lot of things are happening. Flipkart was a phenomenal exit which India has seen. So a lot of action. A lot of Chinese money is also started to come in. Earlier it was only the US. Now Chinese investors are looking at it. So more money coming in is also going to be good for the ecosystem. So I am very bullish on this, and that's the reason why I am in this space. Only now, I feel the only thing which will change is the way investments are happening. More unit level economics will be looked at. People can't. It will not be easy to get funding so easily. You need to actually put a thought behind your business plans, and you need to make sure your burn rates are under control, your cash is under control, your customer retention is there, the phenomenal product is there. So things will move. But I'm still very, very bullish. For example, UI, UX or design was not so much focused on, but now that will be focused probably as the levels, the benchmarks keep increasing for a good quality product. More experienced guys will start new startups. 35-year-olds, 40-year-olds probably will see into startups. A lot of action happening on the fintech side, edutech side. A lot of things will happen. Indians spend so much money on education, right? There has to be many more unicorns in education sector than what it is. Agri-tech, we're such a large country. There's nothing happened. It's just scratching the surface. No disruption has happened. I see agri-tech, insurance, disruption happening. On the consumer side, a lot of things happening because of deeper internet penetration. With the geo coming in, you see vernacular content space seeing so much action because people are going to go on to vernacular and regional languages, social network, consume content. So I see everywhere around me things happening. I see 2 years, 3 years down the line, we'll be talking about probably drone startups, strong AR, VR startups. AI, ML is already there, probably quantum, this thing, computing, semiconductors, edge computing, space explorations. I think all these things will happen. It's just going to be taking some time.
Yeah. That's incredible. And, Gemba Capital being at the forefront of it, totally being bullish and involved in it, I'm sure it's definitely going to head in an incredible way.
I hope so. I hope so too,
yeah. So what message do we go and do we tell a younger Adith, facing the role for the first time? So before he starts, gets into private equity, before he goes into an entrepreneurship journey, he has the whole world in front of him. What do we tell him?
So I personally feel you should go by your gut feel at that stage. You don't have much of experience. Talk to people. Get a mentor early on. As I said, get a mentor early on, and just go with the flow. Take those steps. The worst thing is people don't take that step. That one step which is required. It's like when you say when you take up a job, people say that salary is the best bribe. The companies pay you to forget your dreams.
Right.
So it's like just get out of it and start. And just make sure that you're reading well, your mental models are developed. You can do a quick feedback. You're speaking to your customers when you're starting off your own. You don't have any ego. You're in love with the product. Those are the things which I feel I would probably suggest any young Adith probably network much better. I don't think so. I network a lot. Your time spent on your work and then your family just takes up most of your time. But there has to be a conscious effort to network more. It just helps you somewhere down the line. So that is one. Reading, I think I started pretty late. Your reading should start much early on. Make it a habit. So these are things which I feel anyone should do. Yeah.
Right. And there's one particular thing you mentioned over here that I want to focus on. That's more networking. The importance of networking and having a broader network, right? Why do you find it, I guess, so important?
So why it's important is because whenever you meet someone, all right, there is something which you can pick up from it,
right,
from that meeting. There is never a meeting wherein you didn't learn anything. There could be certain times, but more so you will be able to learn something. So you getting something out of it from your time you spent. Secondly, that same network probably you can reach out to him 5 years down the line, or 3 years down the line, and it might just help you out. It could get you out of some trouble, or make you get your higher sales, or get you some nice reference, or something or that. I've seen it in my life where it's always helped me. And that's the reason why I feel it's important to network. It's so important to network with not just people from your industry, which is obviously important, but probably even a social network. It just keeps you balanced. It just keeps you afloat. With an entrepreneurship journey of a roller coaster ride of up and down, it just keeps you balanced. There's a social fabric. So I think the social networking also is required. Your professional network is important, and it just spreads, right? People know you. People, it just helps you out later on in anything what you want to do.
100%. Adith, this has been absolutely incredible. I have learned a tremendous amount just talking for you. And I know we're definitely going to have to do another segment because, there's so many more questions and knowledge that I want to learn from you. You're walking knowledge bomb, I guess.
No, sure, absolutely would love to. It was good. I just love talking to you. Yeah.
And it goes without saying, is there anything I can do for you, your family, for Gemba Capital? Please don't hesitate and to reach out and everything.
Absolutely, we'll do it.
Yeah,
I have your call. We'll do reach out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.